Hello everyone, George DeSantis here with the look at the market for the week ending Friday, August 7th, 2020. Usually bring up a disclaimer, let's do that. The disclaimer simply advises you that this is not an attempt to give any particular person investment advice. It is purely for educational purposes. We take a look at some charts, etc. Anyone can do so and do with it whatever you wish. So let's begin to take a look at some charts. So here's a weekly chart of the S&P 500. We've seen these charts before. First thing I usually look at is the moving averages. The exponential moving average of 4 is above the 9 exponential moving average. You can just barely see the 30 weighted moving average, the green line, and that's above the 50-day moving average. So all these moving averages are above each other, the shorter term above the longer term, etc. And that indicates we still seem to have a nice uptrend in place here. Look at the parabolic. The parabolic is indicated by the white dots. Since it became positive here, from a signaling that the downtrend was over, uptrend began. It still remains below the most recent bar. So parabolic is saying, don't think of reversing this trend right now, this uptrend. Now, when we calculated a target on the daily chart, right about here, we saw we had a target of 33.75 on the S&P, and we now are sitting at 33.51 approximately. And when we get there, we are likely to see a little bit of a pullback if the market is going to meet any kind of resistance. As far as MACD is concerned, on the weekly chart, it's trending up from on above the zero line. So we have indications of a continuing uptrend, and we have the Williams percent R is the 14, but it's still trending above that minus 50 magenta line, and some of the rate of change indicator is above the 4. So weekly chart still looking good, trending up. So we turn to a daily chart of the S&P 500. You could see that the moving average, the 4 exponential moving average is above the 9. 9 is above the 30 weighted moving average, and the 50-day moving average is all the way down here. So as far as moving averages go, the trend is still up. The parabolic has switched from a downtrend here to an uptrend here, and it's still below the most recent bar. So we still have an uptrend. We are now running against the 2 standard deviation Bollinger Band. We could see a pullback, a little correction here, but nothing significant, I think. So those are the bullish indications. Let's take a look at the indicators below here. RSI 14 is still above here. So RSI is still indicating an uptrend. No big divergence. MACD, we're using the 1939.9 for sell signals. That we're seeing a minor divergence here, and RSI Williams percent R, Williams percent R is still above that minus 50 line. In this case, we have it at 14, but I usually lose 30, but no big deal. Some of the rate of change indicator is still indicating that the momentum is up. It's above the 4% line. So the weekly and the daily charts are both showing us uptrends. Now, last week I got a video from Alex Elder, and on it he described an indicator, the new high, new low index, the divergence, the difference between the new highs and new lows on the NYSE. And what he did was created a new additional indicator based on the new high, new low index, and used a filter of capitalization of stocks. So on that, he saw a divergence that gave him a reason to be concerned about the market. More precisely, he was thinking that we should be more careful here, that this market is probably topping out. So what I did here was I said, okay, let me take a look at some of the indicators that I can't get the indicator he's using. He just did it, but I won't be able to do it myself. But what I thought I would do is take a look at RSI. RSI is a very good oscillator. And so I looked at RSI 14 with a 14 period, and I saw that back here, back in February, you can see the S&P on the weekly chart made a high here, and it then came down and made a higher high here, okay? But when you look at the RSI gave you a distinct divergence. And of course, that was the beginning of this whole downtrend here in March. Uh, if that's any harbinger of things to come, we have to be careful here. What Alex is saying is you're having this a similar kind of divergence. So I looked at the divergence here. We had a high here and a higher high here, and we're seeing this divergence here. It's not as pronounced as this one, but there is a divergence of RSI from price up here. There is also a minor divergence on the daily chart of the S&P. So it's just a red flag, call it a yellow flag if you wish, that we want to point out, okay? Be careful here. So we turn to some charts on stockcharts.com. And the first chart here is a chart of Apple. You can see Apple gapped up quite a bit and gapped up again after they announced good earnings and then split 4 for 1. The split hasn't gone into effect yet, but it's been split 4 for 1. But you can see that Apple is now showing you a bullish harami, an inside bar. The next chart we want to look at is the new high, new low index. Now, Alex is seeing that that divergence on the new high, new low, but right now, the new high, new low index is looking pretty darn good. So we'll see how this all plays out. The next chart we want to look at is the chart with the impulse indicator. His impulse indicator is green. It's on the daily chart. It's green. What about a weekly chart? Let's take a look. The weekly chart is also green. You can see we're approaching that June high, that February high rather. So so we'll see what happens from there. Okay. And here's our chart we've looked at before. We can see that it's the chart of the percentage of stocks of the S&P 100 above their 200-day moving average, and that is now looking quite bullish. I mean, it's above the 50% line. It's above the 50-day moving average and the 200-day moving average. And we usually want to see that above 50%, and that's where we are now. That's pretty bullish. Here's best choice. This is a chart of the S&P ETF, SPY or SPIDER. And you can see the extreme is now at 73.6. And we have room at the top. In other words, this line here, when extended out, is a 90% line. And we're sitting at 73.6, so we have room at the top. That's the S&P. And so we can turn to Shaken Analytics to take a look at some individual stocks, etc. And the first group that we have here is the sector ETFs. And in addition to the spiders, I have put here the ETF ARKK, which I own, and a few others, TQQQ, etc. So what you can see here is that the ones that are now currently rated bullish are this group here, XLV. XLV is now oversold. We'll take a look for the ones that are oversold because those should interest us. ARKK has been oversold, but now it's almost overbought, so it's pulled back a little bit on Friday. The minerals oversold and ticking up, so gold should continue to do well. Materials rather, including gold. XLC is now almost overbought. Almost overbought, so we want to wait till it pulls back. Same for the technology stocks. Technology stocks are overbought, and you'll see that in many of the individual stocks that I still own, and they are overbought. XLP is the consumer staples, and that is overbought. So last week I showed you a list of what is called the thematic ETFs. I found this in Barron's, and there are 9 of them. Most of them are overbought, so no wonder we have some pullbacks here. You know, and the red percentages shows what they did on Friday. So if you look at ARKF, you'll see it's overbought. Take a look at this indicator here. ESP, let's see, this one is overbought, ESPO, which is a global equity. This other one is overbought. They're mostly overbought. You see, there are a few of them that are not quite. This one is not quite overbought. And not, or this one, ARKK. But this one is overbought, ARKW. This is also overbought. So that's why we are seeing some red indications here in terms of the percentages. We switched to a group that I own most of these. Some of them I sold. A couple of them I got rid of for various reasons. But you can see Adobe is now overbought. Just take a look here. Overbought, right? We looked at the RKK before. You can see Cadence Design was overbought and is pulling back a bit. CRISPR I did sell. It's not performing the way I would like to see it perform. Facebook, you could see it's now overbought. Microsoft, overbought. That Japanese car maker, same thing. PayPal, overbought. So most of these stocks are now overbought. I'm just going to go through the whole bunch. You could see them. Nvidia, overbought. All right. So we have to be patient now, and we'll see these things pull back a little bit, perhaps. See, TQQQ, overbought. Tesla is oversold. I still own it. Looking for it to rally from here, especially from the 21-day average. You could see we do have a triangle here. We have a triangle. You could plot it this way, or you could plot it a smaller one from here. But it's oversold and looking to trend up. This ETF is also overbought. Let's pause it. And here's the latest stocks from the screener, you know, the screener alerts. Again, I don't own most of these stocks. I only own about 8 or 10 stocks, about 8 stocks. So I will show you what they look like. This one is oversold. You could, again, keep your eye on this. It's oversold and changed personality. But again, many of these stocks might also be cheap, very cheap stocks selling under $10 a share. I don't usually consider those, for me anyway. But you can take a look. I'll click on some of these here for those of you who don't have Shaken analytics software. This one is overbought. This is oversold. This is Ameriprise Financial. That's oversold. And it looks pretty good here. This one, Road and Rail, it's indicating is oversold. CCS, Household Durable, not familiar with it, oversold. Another one, CMCO. This was almost oversold and is ticking up. Many of these stocks were up on Friday, you know. It's interesting how some of these stocks that are like no names, you know, we don't know them, but they're ticking up. On Friday, for example, ENV. This one here we've seen before, this ESCA. Look at what it did. It moved up from an oversold position all the way up and is pulling back a bit here now. We're coming close to the end of this video. I don't want to go over the 15 minutes again. Look at Facebook. Facebook, you see, is oversold, overbought rather. All right, let me end it here before we run out of time. Have a good weekend. It's Saturday evening. We have that family thing tomorrow. I want to remind us. Bye-bye.